Hey guys, my name is Colin Stansbury. I'm an alliance manager here at Avalara Europe. And as Simon has so correctly pointed out, I'm foreign. Brexit does mean Brexit. But I am half and half. So I was born in the US, but I've been in the UK for 21 years now. I'm going to be talking to everybody here about the impact of Brexit regarding the movement of goods from the UK into the EU and the EU vice versa, especially in light of the Guardian update that I just received today. That's Boris Johnson had said there may be a strong possibility of a no-deal Brexit. So if I start to bang my head aggressively into the desk at any point in time, it's because I'm getting more news updates. So I'm looking forward to speaking to everyone later on today. Okay, death and taxes. Oscar Wilde once said that there are only two things in life that are certain, and those are death and taxes. And I can't help you with the former, but I certainly can help you with the latter. So what we're going to talk about today is VAT and customs as a customer experience issue. Now, guys, I will be speaking clearly, but I will be speaking quickly. So if there are any questions at all related to this with the 21 days of Brexit left to go, Simon and everyone's got my email address, and I'll be more than happy to go into in-depth discussions about your specific requirements. So let's get stuck in straight away. What does it mean to sell a D2C from a tax perspective? Well, selling D2C, what it does to do is it results in lower shipment values versus sending bulk out via B2B. So it means that de minimis thresholds are not exceeded for D2C. Now, this is not applicable for Brexit and the upcoming leaving of the EU. But what it does is when we talk about the United States, it means that, for example, if you sell a $200 pair of shoes D2C to a buyer in the US, well, then you don't have to pay import tax or customs duty on that because the limit's $1,000 in the United States. However, if you sell 5 pairs of the shoes to a B2B distributor, and for example, in New York, then you'll have duties associated to that. So when we're talking about this, when we're selling international, what we're doing here is you're actually going to be selling, more volume, yes, but less value on average, which means that in some places with de minimis, which is the value of the threshold, you will be under it. Does that make sense to everyone? Yes, nod. Yes, fantastic. Now let's get stuck into the meat and the potatoes. Okay, 21 days left to go here, guys. Just like I said, we've just got the note from Bojo that we have a strong possibility of a no deal. That is terrible news. Is actually genuinely awful news, and yeah, not great. So, but here are the changes that are going to be happening regardless of a deal, right? So, as you see right here where I'm sitting, so when we leave the UK VAT regime, it means that we've got all goods are subject to import VAT, no matter the value. Extra VAT registrations for e-commerce and B2B. UK businesses may require fiscal rep. Again, we really want a deal, so this is avoided. We leave the digital services MOS, which is the mini one-stop shop, and also the VAT recovery changes as well. And all what it means for customs union is there's 250 million new customs declarations and checks that are going to need to be provided, right? With likely payment tariff calculations and payments required. So what do you guys got to do, right? What does it mean as a business? It means that there'll be new registrations for if you want to sell DDP. And there are new registrations for distance sellers, new digital registrations as well as physical representation. And down here with customs moving the goods cross-border, we need to consider commodity code, HS codes, and also calculating tariffs. Now, this is all going rather down to the wire here, and it's very scary. So what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to explain right now what it means with a no deal and what it's going to mean for you guys moving goods cross borders. And to do that, I'm going to do some pretty. I'm going to try to explain the complicated Incoterms in pretty straightforward English. And if you have any questions, just let me know. So here's how it works now. So if I'm selling D2C to France and Germany before the UK leaves the EU, this is how it is. It is a straightforward process. There you go. The French and the German customer purchase goods from the UK company. French or German VAT is charged if the business has crossed the distance selling thresholds of 100K in Germany and 35,000 in France, or UK VAT is charged if they have not gone above those thresholds. There's no customs duties, no import taxes. There's no problem moving the goods cross borders. VAT returns are filed in the countries where they have a requirement, where they've crossed the threshold. Customers get the goods in a timely manner. Without hidden charges, everybody's happy. It's a good customer experience. We're all familiar with this. I know we are. However, this is the reality in which we're now going to be facing, okay? So here's what happens when we sell it afterwards. Now, UK businesses, we've lost access to VAT and customs implications, right? So here's what we got to think about. How are we going to pay our customs tariffs? How are we going to understand our harmonized system codes and commodity codes? How are we going to complete the customs declarations? 250 million customs declarations at a minimum. And how are we going to handle our increased VAT liabilities? So now we have to know that all sales to the EU will have to have customs declarations for goods to be allowed into Europe. If you're moving for goods from the UK into Europe, you have to have a customs declarations upon it, no matter what the value is. All companies now will have to understand their HS codes in order to calculate the customs duty and import tax of their goods for EU customs to be allowed to pass through customs to the end user. Or you could alternatively totally leave it, and allow the customer to pay additional hidden fees at the point of delivery. Has anyone ever had a knock on the door when they've gone and said, "Oh, hello, Mr. DHL man, nice to meet you. Oh, what's that? You have a pin machine instead of my package? I owe an extra 20 quid in customs duties for it." Not a good customer experience, right? So here's the additional VAT obligations that go on to it. Depending on your Incoterms, which we'll speak about in the next couple of slides, UK businesses will now have to register and charge VAT in France and Germany, even if you haven't crossed the thresholds. That means if you do one sale from D2C into another country, then you will have to register for and manage the VAT in that country if you sell delivery duties paid, right? Otherwise, if you want to go DAP, the other Incoterm, the customer will have to manage the VAT. It's not a good experience. And there's fiscal representation requirements, right? Luckily, Germany and France do not require fiscal representation, but 18 other countries do. Hence why we were really keen on having the free trade agreement in place, where hopefully individual countries could be relied upon to make their own decision about it. So here's what we got, guys. Here's the result and the consequence of that last 5 minutes. Big delays at customs if not properly addressed. Customers having to pay more customs than they need to. Risk of VAT fines and penalties, and a really poor customer experience. Okay, so here's the reality. Let's talk about Incoterms, right? Incoterms are the way that you sell as a business to D2C, right? So the three big ones are the importer of record, the DDP, and DAP, right? So let's talk about the importer of record right here. The importer of record, as you read right here, is the entity or individual who is responsible for all entry documents required by the customs, border protection, and for the product classification and the payment of duties, as well as any import obligations. Those are three things, guys. Please remember these. Customs declarations need to be done to move goods into a country. Tariffs, is there any non-refundable tax associated with the movement of that goods? And three, import VAT, which is refundable tax obligations that you need to be able to manage before the goods enter the country. Wine break. Righty-ho. Here we go. So DAP, what does it mean? Right? It means that the seller passes all customs duty, import VAT, and local obligations to the buyer, right? Which means you just say, forget it. I'm going to do the sale, and I'll leave the rest up to you, the consumer. The advantage is it's really easy for you as a seller. You don't take responsibility for any taxes in the transaction, and it's a minimal cost. It's really cheap. You just sell. Boom. There you go, off to the consumer, because they're the ones who are going to be handling the taxes, right? However, the customer usually isn't made aware of any additional costs associated with the transaction. Remember I was pissed off. I paid it, but I never bought from them again. Additional customs duty and VAT is due at delivery. The goods can be held up at customs if it's substantial value. And overall, it's a bad customer experience because nobody wants to go off, and if they've paid 120 quid for say, a pashmina or say like a tea set from Stoke, they don't want to have to go into the post office and pay additional fees onto it. No, of course they don't. But that's where delivery duties paid come in. That's where the seller, you as a business, are responsible for the calculation, the filing of customs duties, import VAT, and local VAT. Advantages are customer has full transparency. There's no hidden costs. The goods move through customs quickly and efficiently, and you can claim back import VAT. It's a positive customer experience. Disadvantages is there's increased compliance costs, which means you're going to have to register everywhere where you have a sale. So if you have one sale in Lithuania, you're going to have to register for Lithuanian VAT, right? Or you got a geo block, which again, and I'm sure my colleagues at Push On and Magenta will be able to speak about in detail. Now, if you're the importer of record, it means that the seller must complete accurate customs duty and import tax calculations. And there could be the difference, right, between keeping and losing a customer. Now, Does that make sense all so far? I'm halfway through. Yeah? Nods? Yep, fantastic. Okay. EORIs. Anyone who is selling into Europe, you need another European EORI number. Okay. You just do. If you've got a UK one, great. But we leave the EU in 21 days. It means that it's not going to matter. An EORI number, or an EORI, as some people pronounce it, is effectively a passport. It means that you're allowed to import goods into the European Union, right? Got it. So a customs duty, these customs declarations, these are the biggest issues that are facing British businesses at the moment. Now, the 250 million of these that need to be prepared and managed. Now, logistics, freight forwarders, parcel delivery companies, they will usually be responsible for the management of this particular form, right? But it's about the numbers that fill in the form that are the most important thing. Now, when you hire a freight forwarder or parcel, any one of those companies to fill out these forms for you, it means that they also take on the responsibility, the joint liability of moving the goods from A to B, which means that if you don't have customs declaration, if you don't have HS code classifications, if you don't calculate the correct value of the cost of moving the goods cross border, it means that these guys are going to be responsible for doing it. And what they'll always do is they will always, as they are risk averse, charge the maximum amount of any kind of tax upon that certain transaction, right? It's not good. So what do you guys need to do? HS codes. Let's talk about these. Now, these are a system to globally classify traded items, right? So the first 6 digits of any particular item are universal. So 0, 8, 0, 5, 10, that's an orange anywhere in the world, from Timbuktu to Peru, right? But it's the last 4 digits, 4 to 6 there, that really make up the difference. That's the specific country code of where you have. So if you're selling clothing, for example, there's a very big difference about the material in which it's made out of, and also exactly who it's designed for, right? So there's a difference. It could be anywhere between 5 to 30% when moving goods in. Now, remember, your freight forwarders are always going to be putting the highest value on it. So it's really important that you have an understanding of, be specific about what the calculation is. So that means that you and the customer, who, if you're selling DDP from D2C, will be the one taking on that particular tax, right? So here's an example of it, right? We got a leather shoe heel, and it was 640359. That's women's shoes, women's heels. That's universal, right? But in Australia, it's 10% import VAT, right? In the US, it's 16%. But in Japan, they don't like imported leather, so they slap 30% on top of that, right? As you can see right here, you have to be so specific about each particular HS code to be able to identify who's going to be able to have about who is going to be able to have the least amount of tax on that transaction. Because again, if you're selling DDP, it all goes to the consumer. So we're talking about transparency, right? After Brexit, now more than ever, it's important that any single one of your consumers has a full understanding of the transparency, right? Well, here's a couple of options, right? You've got classification right here, being able to know the exact amount. And then you've got the cross-border, which you'll calculate the customs duty and tax to provide a better customer experience and avoid issues with customs. There we go. So what do you want to do? You want to be able to assign HS codes to products, right? Oh, heavens to Betsy. That was a, come on, Pickle. You can do this. There you go. So what you want to be able to do is you want to take your site right here. So say we're on a Magento 2 site. You've got your SKU number, item description, categories, URL, page, and country sold into. What it's able to do is able to go into this magical machine that looks like something from Bedknobs and Broomsticks, or something from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. And what you do is you produce the HS code classification, right? That is the most accurate calculation, which will be able to provide the customer full transparency over the total cost of that transaction, right? So what do you have? Boom, you got an HS code, which means that you now know exactly, forgive me, this silly animations, what means that you're able to calculate the customs duty and import fees yourself, and it means that we're able to handle the calculation. So what it does here, guys, is again, go from your Magento 2 store, HS codes, use case, and then boom, you have the classifications. What it means for you guys is you have happy customers. All right, and this is imperative because Brexit means Brexit, apparently, as they keep telling me over and over and over again. Can't kick me out though. But what it means here, guys, is that when it comes to you moving goods cross borders, you have to be able to fill out all the paperwork to the nth degree, or else they're just going to stop you, right? So what do you want? You want greater accuracy, efficiency, same in time. I mean, that's just nonsense, but it's true in this case, isn't it? And then when it comes to cross-border, you want to reduce shipment rejections, right? You want to reduce custom delays. You want to improve customer satisfaction, and you want to calculate custom charges in real time, because the customer is first. They are the ones that matter. And if they have a poor experience and you're looking to go to market or go into a new country, you want to reduce the cost of customer acquisition. And having returns, having rejections, having customers who are pissed off and go on social media and tell you all about it, well, then you're going to have a big problem if you're not able to provide full transparency, right? So here's what it is, real briefly. I promise this is one of my second to last slide for you guys. So what you got here is you got your online store. Goes in, they make a purchase, you go through the Magento platform transaction, you go through the API here, go through our Avatax platform, and then what you get here is you got your item classification, which tells you exactly how much it is. And what you get here, guys, is you get supported both DDP and DAP. So even if you're not going to take responsibility for the management of all of that transaction, it means you'll still at least be able to provide a full, transparent total cost to the customer. So here's what it looks like right here, right? Boom, address in there. You've got your items, and here you go: customs duty, Bosch, local tax, and then the shipping, total cost of your item. And they make a decision about whether or not to purchase that item. It's about giving your customer as much transparency as possible, and it gives them a better chance of buying from you again. So I went over by a minute. Terribly sorry, and thank you all very much.